London, home to some of the world's richest money movers, gamblers, insurance companies, hedge funds, and banks. It was here and in Wall Street that the great financial crash of 2008 was caused by a system of greed, mismanagement, and corruption, most of it rescued by the government. And it was here that the imposition of an extreme ideology called austerity was justified. Austerity is one of the propaganda triumphs of the age because there's no need for austerity. There is a debt owed by banks that were bailed out with our money. We, the people, don't owe a penny. Then why are we paying for it? Why are the poorest picking up the bill when some of the biggest companies in the world pay little or no tax? Why has mass poverty returned to Britain? Why are the very premises of civilized life, of which the National Health Service is a beacon, being run down or put up for sale? Why, according to one study, is there the greatest rise in mortality in 50 years? The study undertaken by you and your colleagues gave up some really damning evidence that thousands of excess deaths in England and Wales were linked to cuts in the health service. In the first 7 weeks of 2018, an additional person died every 7 minutes.
The only thing that fits is austerity, the cuts to the health service, but cuts to social care as well. Because as the cuts got deeper and deeper, people began to die faster. The frail and the elderly first, elderly women who are much more likely to be living on their own than elderly men. And we first said this over 4 years ago. And the cuts continued, and then life expectancy itself began to drop. You're talking about 120,000 people so far who have died earlier than they would otherwise. For child and infant mortality, we're ranked, well, neonatal deaths, we're 19th in Europe. And that's getting worse. One thing that shocks medics, our babies used to have a 3 times better chance of not dying than babies in Portugal in the 60s and 70s. Portugal was always put forward as a terrible place to be born. Now you're much more likely to get to your first birthday if you're born in Portugal than in the UK.
The changes in the health service have a great deal to do with privatisation.
Yeah.
The change of the character of the health service has much to do with that.
Yeah.
And in making this film, we found that it's much more prevalent, certainly than I realised. What's the impact of that?
When you think you're part of something which is truly precious to people, that's when you work longer hours that you're not paid for. That's when you spend another minute with somebody that you wouldn't otherwise. Turn it into a business where their customers are not patients. And, you know, the same way that most people treat their jobs, it's how you get paid, but it's not a vocation. And that's very dangerous with health, because you really want the people looking after your health to actually care about you, not care about when they're going to be going off shift.